We're going to talk about a story arc or a plot graph. If you have chosen not to do the choose your own adventure story with a group, then you need to plan out your own individual story, and that's what the plot graph helps you with. There are 6 parts to the plot graph. There is the exposition, the complicating incident, the rising action, climax, falling action, and the resolution. And we're going to talk about each of those individual parts. To begin with, the exposition is a fancy word for the start of your story. The exposition has 5 different parts. The first couple you've already worked with, those are setting and characters. You also need what's called the basic situation, and that is just what is happening. How are you going to start the actual plot at the start here? You should indicate the time as well, and the time is, it could simply be morning, noon, after, or nighttime. It could be an actual time, like 12 o'clock. It could be a season, a year, a month, a week, anything that indicates time. The last thing then is a mood. You need to establish a mood at the beginning of the story. It could change, but you need to start with one. And that's where your setting and characters come into play, as well as a bit of the basic situation. Okay, after the exposition, then you have the complicating incident. This is the main problem that starts the whole story. Without this, there's really no reason to tell a story. If your story was, I got up in the morning, I had breakfast, went to school, came home, and went to bed, there's no major problem there or no conflict involved. So there's no real reason to tell that story. This conflict is basically going to drive the entire story forward. After that, then we have the rising action. And the rising action is full of what we like to call cause and effect relationships. Okay, cause and effect. What that means is that what happens after the complicating incident, that causes the next part of the story to happen. Okay, that, whatever it causes, then causes something else to happen. Okay, that causes something else to happen. And so that's why we have a series of events as we go up the rising action. I've put 4 to 6 here, but you can have as many as you want, as many as you need to tell your actual story. Notice as well that the line going up is jagged, okay? It is not a smooth line, and that is because on the rising action, you have a series of problems that the characters need to overcome, or a series of challenges that drive the story forward. Okay, so it's not a smooth flow up the top here. After the rising action, we have the climax. Okay, and the climax is the highest point in the story, literally the highest point on the graph, but also the most intense part of the story. Basically, whatever has begun down here at the complicating incident is going to get resolved, or it's going to reach its most serious point at the climax. Okay, from the climax then, the next thing is the falling action. And the falling action is just starting to finish off the story. Whatever the problems were that led up to and played out at the climax, now things are beginning to return to normal. Okay, and then after that we have the resolution. That is the end of the story. You're tying up loose ends, you're finishing things off. So, just to play this out a little bit, if we're telling a story here, the exposition, we have a character. It's a boy. He is at home, and he is waking up in the morning. So the basic situation there, and the time is the morning. It is a peaceful mood. The boy is just waking up. He's had a nice, relaxed, restful night. Okay, he goes to go downstairs to have breakfast, and he trips and falls down the stairs. In doing so, he breaks his ankle. So we have the complicating incident there. Okay, now we're on the rising action. Because he breaks his ankle, he needs to struggle to the phone and to call his mom for some help. His mom comes home, and they take him to the hospital. Okay, at the hospital, the ankle continues to swell. The doctor is really concerned. They take some x-rays, and they give him some medication that reduces the swelling. The x-rays come back, however, and it is determined that there's an even more serious problem, and they are going to have to operate. After freaking out, the family decides, okay, it's a good idea, it's going to save his life, it has to be done. Okay, they go to the operating room, and they put him under, so he is getting ready for the operation. Now at the climax, this is the most important part, or most intense part here. They are going to amputate his leg. So what started down here at the complicating incident has gone all the way through here. It has escalated, it has gotten more serious to the climax. But at the climax, a nurse comes rushing in and says, whoa, wait, we've just realized the x-rays, we've misread them. It was a scratch on the x-ray. It is not as serious as we thought. So now we are in the following action. They take the boy and they take him out of the operating room. They go back to his hospital room, and eventually they put a cast on his leg, and he is able to go home a couple of days later. Okay, now we're at the end here, the resolution. To tie up loose ends, the problem here at the beginning was that he tripped because of that stair. So in the resolution, they nailed down the stair and they put a handrail along the stairs so that if you lose balance, you have something to hold on to, so the main character will not fall. This will not be repeated. Okay, so I hope that clarifies the parts of plot, and make sure that you are using this to plan if you are doing your own individual story.